We have all had that feeling of buying something brand freaking new. Something that we just really want to have that we think is freaking awesome. The other day, I was at Anna and Marin's house, and Marin specifically showed me, I had been to the basement, but I don't remember if I had seen it when it was fully complete, so I wanted to see it again. And Marin was showing me the TV with the sound system, and they had couches like a L sectional, not L sectional, it's L sectional, but it's like bigger than that. It's like a giant couch setup, beautiful TV. I don't know if it's 80 inches or what. It looks gigantic. Screen resolution's beautiful. Sonos sound system is it's a sound bar, I should say, with the ability to expand, and it's wonderful. It's spectacular. It is amazing. But the one thing that I noticed when I was down there, Marin was saying that she kind of felt worried about what other people thought of her buying something so expensive and so I guess flashy. I don't know if that's the right word. And then I thought to myself at the time, I was just like, who cares what other people think? It's about whether you enjoy it. It's your purchase. It's your home. It's your stuff. It's your life. You worry about what you think about it. If your intention when you bought it was to try and impress other people, then yes, you're going to care about what other people think. And that's probably not the best reason to go buy something. But if your intention was to have this wonderful, nice TV setup that you have, then you're going to love it. And it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. You basically say, go fuck yourself to anyone who has a comment about it in any way, shape, or form. Welcome to the Rishi Mishra podcast. I'm your host, Rishi Mishra. And I just think people need to stop worrying about what other people think. I say that because I've read that in several books that I've read recently, and I think it makes sense. It helps you to de-stress. It helps you to not have fear of doing things, of saying things, of being yourself. And I think it's important. It's hard to do. We a lot of times look for other people's approval. We care what they think. It's what makes us not narcissistic, is that we actually do care what other people think. But there's a certain level to which, you want to do that, and a certain vibe and time that you want to do that. You want to make sure they're not being hurt, and you want to make sure that they feel like they're being seen and they're not being ignored. But otherwise, you should be worrying about what you think, what your intentions are, and just being the best, being you. That's what you should be worried about, in my opinion. Again, my opinion shouldn't matter to you, though. You should be able to take stuff that you learn from other people and do what you want with it. I finished the book, The Power of Now. When I say I finished it, it means I stopped it. I could not continue going on after. I was probably about I think I was 1.5 chapters away from finishing it. I was like, I'm done. I get it. I got the gist of the book. Look, the guy, you kind of want to fall asleep when you listen to the book. So that's part of the problem. But it does have a lot of good lessons in it. Tells you basically to not worry about things psychologically. So from the standpoint of items that happen in the future, thinking about the future, it's really not helpful from a psychological standpoint. And he talks about this from he calls it clock time and psychological time. From a practicality standpoint, there are certain things that you're going to need to know about the future. For example, if you set up a meeting in the future to have some lunch with someone on a Thursday, and it's Monday, it's not saying completely forget about the lunch on Thursday and never think about it until it gets Thursday. No, that's not reasonable. You can't do that, because you have to make sure you plan ahead in the sense for that. But he's saying that from the standpoint of, oh man, what is this person going to think about it when I go into this meeting and I start talking about this? That's a psychological time type of thing, in the sense that you're thinking about what someone else is going to think. You're thinking a million different things about something that's not like concrete, that you don't know. And however you play it out in your head is not necessarily how it's actually going to go. It'll never go the exact way that you see it. Ever. It will never go that exact way. There's going to be some minute detail that's different, or many details that's different, or a complete situation that's going to be different from what you thought it would be. Somebody's going to say something different. Somebody's going to use different words. Somebody have a different body language, different clothes, different whatever it is. It's going to be different. It's never going to be what you think it is. And so why worry about something? Why create anxiety and stress about something you can't actually predict? Try and live life in the present is the main focus of Power of Now. Don't worry about things that have happened in the past or the future, if you can, that are outside your control from a psychological standpoint. From a practical standpoint, yes, absolutely, you have to worry about the past, you have to worry about the future. But from a psychological standpoint, it just doesn't help with your mental state. And then the next book that I'm reading right now is actually a book that I found at Nardo and Reshma's apartment. I say Reshma's apartment because it's her book. The book is called The Charisma Myth. And the gist of the book is basically saying charisma is something that most people have this myth that you have to be born with charisma, or you don't, either that or you don't have it. And in this book, the author, she says that that's not true, that charisma is something that it's a skill that you can learn. She talks about what is charisma. So she breaks it down into the three main facets of charisma. One is presence, another is power, and the third is warmth. You need to have all three to be charismatic. And she says that people that are charismatic are not charismatic all the time. It's a switch that you turn on and off, that you choose to be charismatic when you want to, and you can choose to not be charismatic as well. And so then it's a skill that's learned. And in this book, I'm about 25%, 35% in to this book. And there's several decent ideas in there. And everything that you read, you're not going to 100% agree with everything that someone says. And that's good. You shouldn't probably do that, just because you are your own person. You're going to have your own thoughts, your own ideas based on how you grew up, what you believe in, and your experiences in life. So a couple of things. I'm just going to go over one of the things that she talks about that I think is a decent idea. And I'm going to then go over something that I hadn't heard about before, or I should say I'd heard about but never actually knew what it was. And that comes from a book that I've learned about so far. So the one of the decent ideas that I think come from this book is called Creating Reality. And it's not thinking about the future. No. What it is let's say, for example, you are driving on the highway. And all of a sudden, while you're driving on the highway, a car comes speeding up behind you, goes around you, and cuts you off and speeds up ahead. You're just like, whoa, WTF. That guy's a complete jerk. She says it's not good to always be in a negative mindset, to think negatively. As human beings, I think we are triggered, and our normal mindset, for whatever reason, is to think of the negative things before we think of the positive things. And so she says that, you, one, will probably never actually see that person again, or know what happened to that person, or why that person was doing what they're doing. Yeah, that person may just be speeding just because they want to and they don't care about anyone else. Or you can think about it in a positive light and create your own reality, in a sense, that maybe that person was speeding and they were trying to get around you and trying to get to where they were going as fast as they could because somebody they knew in their family got injured and was taken to a hospital, and they were just trying to get to that hospital as fast as they can. Now, if you thought that person was speeding to try and get to a hospital because their family member was injured, you probably wouldn't be pissed at them. You'd probably understand. And that's the mental mindset that she says we should try to create our own reality when we have the ability to do so. If we think of something negatively and we don't know the reason for it, there's no reason to speculate on something negative. Try and speculate on something positive to put yourself in a positive mindset. Because part of what charisma is your tone of it's not just your tone of voice, but it's your body language. The warmth factor of charisma requires you to be in a positive mindset. People don't generally find negative people charismatic. So that's one of the ideas that she has from her book that anyone can do at any time, and you don't have to do it all the time if you don't want to. That's the best part about it. Another thing in her book, so this is the one thing that I learned from the book that I'd heard about before. Somebody at work had mentioned to me that they quote unquote have imposter syndrome, and I didn't actually know what that was. And she explains in her book what imposter syndrome is. Basically, imposter syndrome is this idea that you feel like even though you are, in reality, you are actually very good at what you do, you as a person feel like you're not good at what you do, and that at some point someone's going to expose you for that and basically call you out and or show you up to show people that like, hey, this person's not good at what they do. When in reality, you actually are good at what you do, and people have this belief that they're going to be found out or gotten. And I was like, wow, that's something that makes sense. I think that a lot of people think that they're not as good at something that they're really good at. Just it's a hard thing to believe. They're like, wow, I'm really good at this thing. And it's definitely something that I've experienced multiple times. I at work worry about whether or not I'm smart enough to do what I'm doing. And then there are times where just in regular life, I ask that question as well. Am I smart enough to do what I'm doing? Am I good enough to do what I'm doing? Or are there things that I don't realize? So that's imposter syndrome. I don't really have much more on it. I don't know if she's going to talk about it more in the book later on and kind of how that impacts charisma. Obviously, part of charisma is just having confidence in yourself. And so having imposter syndrome is not going to make you the most confident person. So that's an aspect of that. I'll let you know as I continue reading this book what else I kind of find out from the idea standpoint and how you can kind of learn the skill of charisma, I guess. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is The Bear. It's this TV show. It's on Hulu, created by FX. Season 3 came out on Wednesday, June 26, 2024. All 10 episodes came out at once. They didn't just release one episode at a time. I found that interesting. I'm not sure why they did that because they definitely could have gotten people to watch on a weekly basis. I'm not sure if at this point with streaming, if it even matters anymore. From the standpoint of the hype, I mean, people have been waiting a year for the new season, and I think maybe that's part of the reason why is they didn't want people to wait longer, but I feel like people more than happily would have. The one thing with The Bear that, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but they have episodes that are varying in time, and it's episodes that are sometimes 40 minutes long, 27 minutes long, 30-something minutes long, and it's just basically the episode is as long as it takes to tell the story and nothing more. There's no fluff, and I think I'm not going to spoil any of the episode of The Bear for you, but I think the big thing about The Bear that I find so enjoyable and find so unique and special is their ability to mix in sights and sound and tempo in such a brilliant way that as a viewer you are captivated by what's going on, and I don't think you necessarily ever know what's going to happen next fully, and that you're wondering what each of these people are thinking, and you're getting to experience that in detail because of the sights and sounds and tempo that they incorporate in the show. With that, I am going to sign off, and I will see you guys on the next podcast. Hope everyone is doing well.